Yo, what is up everyone? Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prodigy channel. And if you guys have been watching my videos at all for this 2020 fantasy football season, you know that this setup is a little bit different than normal. That is because I am visiting my fam for the holiday season. So I'm not at my usual setup and I was not able to use their computer that they have here at the moment. So long story short, I'm just recording on my Mac right now. So we will see how this goes, but we're just making do with what we have. So in this video, we are just going to be setting our fantasy football lineups here heading into week 16, championship week of the 2020 fantasy football season. As you guys know, if you've been watching my videos, I usually set my lineup in 3 leagues because I was in 3 leagues this year, and we made the title game in 2 of them. So we are competing for 2 out of 3 championships, and the one league that we are not in the championship game, we were in the playoffs, we lost last week, and we're still competing for 3rd place. And that is a Dynasty League, so there are ramifications with like draft spots and everything, but I just want to make sure I try to get 3rd place because that would be ideal. So with that being said, let's go ahead and start setting these lineups here. So I'm doing this after the Friday game, as you can see by the date up here. The Vikings, my dear beloved Vikings, played the Saints, and our defense could not stop the Saints at all. But yet Drew Brees only had 8.14 points because Alvin Kamara had 6 rushing touchdowns. That is not a joke. He literally tied the NFL record against my Minnesota Vikings. And not only, the fact that it was against my favorite team, that hurt a lot, but also the fact that I played Drew Brees in that game. They put up 52 points and Drew Brees had less than 10 fantasy points. Really hurts my soul. So that's kind of where we're at for this matchup right here. Taking a look at my opponent, he did play Justin Jefferson as well in that game. Who had a decent game, nothing too crazy, but not bad at all. So actually, before we set this lineup for this week, let's recap last week pretty quickly in this league. So we did end up winning. As you can see, there's a score right there. We won pretty comfortably, and we'll take a look at the box score very quickly. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but this is my team over here. David Montgomery had a great game. I'm going to talk about him in a little bit once I talk about my lineup, but TJ Hockenson, I'll talk about him as well. He had a bad game. Here are our benches. I should have played Benny Snell, but I wouldn't even have thought to do that. So yeah, pretty good week for us. And then transaction wise, I did pick up Salvin Ahmed for 24 out of 200 fab dollars. That was the rest of my fab, just in case Gaskin was out. Gaskin is coming back, so I'm assuming Gaskin will be the lead running back as of this recording. So I like Gaskin this week. If Ahmed was the starter and Gaskin was out, I would love to play him this week because of the matchup and because I really am in need of a flex this week. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and get into setting this lineup here. So I am without McCaffrey, it looks like. So we made the championship game in this league without McCaffrey. It looks like he is doubtful, so we are most likely going to be without him. Raheem Mostert, he's been on and off the field. We don't have him for week 16 either. And then actually, guys, we are going to do one thing quickly. If you guys haven't done this yet, I would maybe recommend doing it because it can be a little bit of good luck. But what we're going to do here is we're going to add a good luck charm, okay? Because this is a guy that I had on my team all year until he got suspended. But he was a stud for me, and I feel like it'll bring me some good luck if I add him to the team. So right here, we're going to go ahead and add Will Fuller because, like I said, I am in need of a flex without McCaffrey, without Mostert. And I have been missing Will Fuller for quite a while. So we're just going to go ahead and drop Justin Jackson. Hopefully Will Fuller will give us some good luck as he is on the bench. And you don't have to add Will Fuller. You can add some other, maybe like a retired player that you think will give you good luck. Or maybe if you drafted like a player early on and they missed the season, but they were a big part of your team. Sometimes it's just good luck to add them to your bench. I don't know why, but you never know. Just a good luck charm. So we did that. That's the most important step. Now we're on to actually setting the lineup. So I mentioned David Montgomery earlier. I love him this week. This is a non-PPR league, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. 12 teams, and we are playing for the championship this week, okay? So David Montgomery, he's a smash play. He's probably top 5 against Jacksonville. Great matchup. Chris Carson, I like him. I'm going to play him just because of my options and because he gets good volume. He has the potential for a touchdown. This is a tough matchup against LA. Same with Tyler Lockett. Honestly, as you see right here in this format, non-PPR, the Rams are giving up the fewest points to wide receivers. I don't really love any Seahawks this week. I would consider pivoting from Lockett. But given the other options I have on my bench and on the waiver wire, there's really no one. I'm just going to roll with Lockett, but I am a little bit worried about him in this matchup. But Lockett can always have a big game, so that's always something to consider, although he hasn't had a big game for quite a while. Chris Godwin against Detroit, I love the matchup. I think the Buccaneers will score all over Detroit, and I'll talk about some of the other players in that game later on. Well, I guess I'll just say right now, I like Leonard Fournette this week, and we'll talk about him later in the video because I have him in another league, as well as Tom Brady. I like him this week. But when you look at their receivers, Mike Evans is a smash play. And then Godwin and Antonio Brown, ever since Antonio Brown's been in town, that rhymed, Chris Godwin has seen his target share kind of fall a little bit, but I still like this matchup. I think they'll put up enough points where hopefully Godwin will have a decent amount of yardage, hopefully get into the end zone, because we are going to need it after this tough start from Drew Brees, right? And then I also said I would mention TJ Hockenson here. Look, he had a bad week last week. He had negative points if you count -2 for fumbles. And in this league, it was like he had 18 receiving yards and 1 fumble. Yeah, so he had -0.2. But you look at the box score the rest of the season, he's been solid all year. He is still the number 4 tight end on the season. So unless you have like Kelsey or Waller or someone like that, I would still just play Hockenson, right? And then flex, this is so not ideal. So I would love to play this Miami Dolphins running back, but with Gaskin back, I don't think that's smart. If it turns out Gaskin misses the game for whatever reason, or if any changes I make to my lineup after this video, I'll comment it down below and I'll put it in the description. So if you're watching this, make sure to look for that as well. But as of now, I think I'm going with Chase Claypool in the flex, which means I will actually want to put Tyler Lockett in the flex and Claypool in the wide receiver spot, because you want those early game guys in the non-flex spot and the later games in the flex spot, just in case someone gets ruled out with COVID or something like that. Then you have that flexibility. So if Lockett gets ruled out, I could put in a running back off the waiver wire or something, right? Or a tight end, you know, just it gives you more flexibility, right? So I don't love Chase Claypool this week. Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers offense as a whole they've been playing pretty bad, pretty terrible. But you know, Claypool is still seeing some decent targets, nothing crazy. And even in that Bengals game that they lost last week, he had a couple, like I think he had a deep shot or two. And he can always come down with a big play. He's a red zone threat, and he hasn't been great lately. And I don't want to play him. If Ahmed was starting, I would play him over Claypool. But you know, James Conner is back, so Benny Snell is out of the equation. I'm considering Kiki QT, but at that point, I think I like Claypool a little bit more. And yeah, that's just kind of our best option. I actually was considering picking up Rashard Higgins and playing him over Claypool. I was going to make that move, but it turned out that Higgins was picked up like a month ago. Like, I don't know why. This guy was really ahead of the curve on Higgins, you know, consistent good performances lately, but that would have been something I probably would have done. But unfortunately, we cannot do that. So as of this recording right now, we're going with Claypool. At kicker, we're going with Young Wei Koo. He's been a stud. And then I mentioned this in some of my previous videos as well, but this is why I love to stack up defenses in the playoffs, because I can just drop guys at the end of my bench that I know I'm not going to play. I can stack up these defenses. So that means that my opponent is not able to pick up the Bears defense and play them against Jacksonville. And I also have, you know, I have both of these defenses on my team to use for myself, but my opponent also cannot use them against me. So that is why this is pretty sweet. I picked up the Browns defense quite a while ago just for this matchup if I made the championship, and look at that. They're playing the Jets, who gave up the most fantasy points to defenses, so I will take that. And just out of curiosity, who is my opponent playing on defense? It's possible that he has a good defense, but I don't know if it'd be better than... He's got the Buccaneers against Detroit, so that's not bad. But anyways, that's our lineup for our first league. Again, our non-PPR 12 team playing for the championship. And then in this league, this is a 10 team. This is a 10-team league, half PPR, playing for the championship. And this involves a crazy story, all right? So let's actually look at the recap for, it's going to be last week. Hold up. We'll go to the scoreboard here. I'll open it in a new tab. But basically last week, it was one of the crazy, actually, I'm goofy. It's literally right here. My bad. So this was my matchup from last week. I just have to talk about this because this was insane. As you can see, I snuck out a win right here. This was last week, you know, the semifinals. I was going up against the number 1 seed. He was 12-2. You see his team right here, absolutely stacked, right? And as you can see, like, he had a good week and I had a good week. But this is basically what happened, long story short. So I was leading heading into the Sunday night game, and he had Kareem Hunt and Ben Roethlisberger. I was winning by like 17 or something like that. I thought for sure I was going to lose. Like literally Kareem Hunt and Big Ben needed to just not have the worst games of their career basically. And, you know, for my opponent to like win. And I thought for sure I was going to lose. And it turns out Kareem Hunt had 4.3 points. And then on Monday Night Football, Big Ben had 6.7 points. So they combined for 11 fantasy points. And I won by less than 6. So I couldn't believe it. I thought for sure I was going to lose in this league. And you know why it hurt especially bad, or it would have hurt me especially bad, is because I played Jared Goff over Jalen Hurts last week. And I was like, oh no. Because that was my toughest decision last week, because Jared Goff had such a good matchup. Jalen Hurts, I didn't know if it was a fluke, you know, in his first game where he blew up against the Saints, but it was no fluke. He had a crazy good game. He outscored Jared Goff by 20 points. So I love Jalen Hurts this week, obviously. I'll get into this lineup in a second, but he's going to be in my lineup. And I also did end up playing Amari Cooper over DJ Moore. DJ Moore was coming off, was at the COVID list, I believe. I wasn't sure how he would fare. He had a good game, way better than Amari Cooper, who if I was to play DJ Moore, I would have played him over Amari Cooper. So we had a couple bad decisions. I also didn't know what was happening with James Conner and Benny Snell, so I went with Gus Edwards, who had 8.8 half PPR points, which isn't terrible, but Benny Snell had a much better game as well. So we had a ton of bad decisions last week, and it almost cost us. It should have cost us, but luckily my opponent had a terrible game from Big Ben. That was really the main thing. He could have played Cam Newton, Teddy Bridgewater, and I don't want to do the math, but Bridgewater for sure would have got him the dub. So anyways, enough talking about last week. Some transactions we made this week. So on the waiver wire, I knew that I wanted to add another running back, because I don't really want to trust James Conner and that Benny Snell combination of a backfield. And this is where things get a little interesting. So my opponent has Ezekiel Elliott, and he dropped Todd Gurley, which honestly, don't play Todd Gurley this week. Like, he's not getting any volume. Do not play him. Unless he falls into the end zone. And even then, he'll probably get 6.1 fantasy points. But so we picked up Tony Pollard, which I'm sad I didn't pick him up last week. I didn't even think about it. I think Ezekiel Elliott is questionable as of this recording, so it's hard to say, you know, if Tony and Pollard might both play, and then it might be like kind of like a timeshare type of deal. It's hard to say, but anyways, he also added Darrell Henderson because Cam Akers is out for this game, and I'm super frustrated because I had Henderson on my team for a bunch of the season, and I just recently dropped him like a week or two ago once Akers took over. And then of course in the championship game, my opponent picks him up, and I think he's actually playing him in the flex against me. But I was still able to add Leonard Fournette, who I love this week. I'll talk about him in a second here. And this is my opponent this week going into this matchup now. So Melvin Gordon and Leonard Fournette. There's Leonard Fournette right there. I talked about him already. I love him in this matchup. He doesn't necessarily look great, but this is such a good matchup. The Lions are giving up a ton of points to running backs, and I think he can get in the end zone and maybe get some decent yardage, right? And yep, my opponent does have Darrell Henderson in the flex. I think he's a decent play this week. Hopefully he doesn't go crazy against me, but yeah, and there is Zeke and Tony Pollard. So it'll be interesting to see what he ends up doing. And then just kind of going through my team, setting my lineup here. I'll go back to my screen right here. So Kyler Murray, you got to play him. He's a very, I mean, it depends. Like if you picked up Jalen Hurts and Kyler Murray, that's a tough decision, but luckily I don't have to make it. I got Murray and Hurts in there. I'm not playing Goff again. I'm not making that mistake. And then I also talked about Melvin Gordon a little bit earlier. I mean, I just said that I'm starting him. I do like him in this matchup. He's been really solid lately. There is a revenge game narrative, although he did already play the Chargers once this year and it didn't go very well. So those are my running backs for now. I like Melvin Gordon this week. And then at wide receiver / flex, we got Tyreek Hill, Calvin Ridley, Allen Robinson, and DJ Moore. I am playing DJ Moore over Amari Cooper. That was really only the tough decision that I think I have to make in this league. Amari Cooper just hasn't been playing well, and even though the matchup is a little rough for DJ Moore, I think he can still have a good game. I'm just going to go with the guy who's been producing a little bit more lately with DJ Moore. And then Tyreek Hill and Allen Robinson are questionable. If either of them miss the game for whatever reason, I would just probably put Amari Cooper in. Yeah, I'd play Amari Cooper over any of these guys at this point. It's so annoying that James Conner, he kind of fell off. He started so hot. If he was, you know, that solid running back, I could consider putting him in here as well, but it is what it is. And I'm excited to play Jalen Hurts this week and see what he can do. So this is our second lineup of the video. Again, this is a 10-team half PPR league playing for the championship against a pretty good team. And then I'll just take a look at my opponent here. I'll kind of touch on his lineup. I like David Johnson this week. He's actually been really decent this season. He's been getting a lot of work in the passing game. Aaron Jones against Tennessee, that has the potential to be a high-scoring game. Russell Wilson, like I mentioned with the Seahawks earlier, I'm nervous about this matchup. Like you could maybe do better than playing Russell Wilson. Like I'd play Jalen Hurts over Kyler Murray. I'm kind of nervous about the Seahawks in general. Deontay Johnson, he gets so much volume. I think he'll be fine against Indianapolis, despite how poor the Steelers' offense has looked. I'm definitely more excited about Deontay Johnson than Chase Claypool. Corey Davis, it is a tough matchup. He like just his own personal matchup. It'll be a little bit tough, but he's been hot lately, so he's not a bad play. Ayuk, he's amazing. They got CJ Beathard starting at quarterback, but he's been seeing so much volume that it's tough to go away from him. Dallas Goedert against Dallas. I actually like him this week. He's just a solid tight end. Tight end's a little weak, so he gets enough opportunity where he's a decent start. I already talked about Henderson. I like him, as a decent play this week. And Lamar Jackson against the Giants. Low-key, the Giants defense is pretty decent. So I'm hoping that, the Rams and the Giants can stifle my opponent's quarterbacks and keep me in this game. And hopefully my quarterbacks will just overtake this matchup. But we'll see. He has a lot of good players on his team. So that's kind of what I think about my opponent right there. And then we're on to this last league. This is a Dynasty League. 10 teams, half PPR, playing for third place. So I am in the, I lost in the semifinals. Here's the matchup from that week. I went up against the number 1 seed, who in my opinion has the best starting lineup in the league. So I had a decent week, but as you can see, he had a crazy good week. He had Herbert, Dalvin Cook, Kamara. His whole team pretty much did well, other than his defense, right? And then for me, Tom Brady, who I already talked about in this video. I like him a lot this week. I'm going to play him again against Detroit. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'm going to be without him. Maybe you are too. So we're going to work through handling that situation. Jonathan Taylor had a good game. So yeah, Marvin Jones, he's been hot lately. Hopkins had a good game too, but you pretty much always start Hopkins, right? So yeah, we'll get into setting these lineups here for this week as well. But this is just a quick look at my bench as well. McKissic, oh my goodness. I made a running back start of the week video 2 weeks ago. I had McKissic on there. He had a decent game, like with 8.5 half PPR points or something like that. And that was a decent week, but I guess I was a week early. And I still said that I liked him last week, but I didn't go out of my way to publicly proclaim my love for McKissic last week. And he went out and had a crazy good game, right? So yeah, that's my bench. And then this is our matchup this week. Actually, I do want to show you guys this as well. My opponent, sorry, not my opponent, the guy that I lost to last week, he's in the championship. Look at his team. He's got Kamara and Dalvin Cook. Oh my God. Imagine having Kamara on your team and making it to the championship and playing him on the first game of the week. And in that game, he sets the touchdown record, or he ties the rushing touchdown record. Like, that's as good of a start as you can get. So it's pretty much a GG. This guy's pretty much going to be the champion. So it would have been crazy if I knocked off the champion. So, we'll see if he ends up winning, but I'm sure he will. So this is my matchup here. My opponent luckily already played, I believe, he played the Saints defense, who only had 1 point. And then let's go ahead and set our lineup here. So I pretty much have it set already. I am playing Tom Brady against Detroit over Matt Ryan at Kansas City. Cam Newton, I'm not touching at all. Mitchell Trubisky is actually a decent start this week, but you never know with him. He could have a terrible game. He's just so, his highs are high, his lows are low. I'm not playing Alex Smith either. Matt Ryan, he could be a decent play. He had a good week last week, but even last week, he finally had a good game, and it seemed like he was only good for like one half, like against the Buccaneers. Like he started hot, and then nothing really happened in the second half. That's at least what it seemed like as I was tracking the game. So Tom Brady, I like him a lot. I'm going to play Jonathan Taylor against Pittsburgh. I wouldn't sit Jonathan Taylor even if the Steelers defense was still what it was to start the season, but especially lately, they have looked rough. Their whole team has looked rough, so I'm going with JT. I'm going to be playing JD McKissic against Carolina, and I guess while I'm talking about McKissic, I will bring up that I was also considering playing Giovanni Bernard. I'm going to go with McKissic over Gio just because McKissic, I feel like he's a little bit more consistent than Gio. Gio had a really good game last week against the Steelers, but before that, he was a little rough. So we got McKissic there, and I also got Miles Sanders in the flex as like a third running back. So this is a 2 flex league, half PPR. So Miles Sanders is taking up one of my flex spots. And then at wide receiver / my second flex, we got Hopkins. He's an auto start. Marvin Jones against Tampa Bay. I love Marvin Jones this week. He's been so hot lately. And I think if he gets decent enough targets against Tampa Bay, he should have a good week. Chris Godwin against Detroit. I talked about him earlier. Hopefully, because of the matchup, he'll have at least a decent game. And then I am playing Amari Cooper in this league. I have Amari Cooper in 2 leagues, So this is a Dynasty League, so I usually have him. I've had him every year of this league. And then I usually end up drafting him in another like redraft league. At least the last couple of years I've had him. And it's always scary to sit Amari Cooper, for me anyways, in both leagues, because you never know when he can have a big game. And just given my other options in this league, I like playing him in this league and sitting him in the other one, just in case he does have that big blow up game, and hopefully it can carry me to this third place finish. Some other options I was considering, so McKissic and Cooper were kind of the guys I'm the least excited about in my starting lineup. Not that I'm not excited about McKissic. So if I had to decide between McKissic and Cooper, I'd probably go McKissic. But between Cooper and McKissic, like those two are the guys I'm least excited about in my starting lineup. Some guys I was deciding between would be like James Conner, but I don't like him as much as those other two guys I'm starting. Same with Gio. If Clyde was starting, that'd be an interesting situation. Would I play him, or would I play Amari Cooper or McKissic, especially against that Atlanta? Although Atlanta, their rush defense isn't bad, so that would have been an interesting decision, but he's injured, so we don't even have to make it. And then one change I did make recently was I just put Blake Jarwin on IR. I had him on my bench, and I took Kittle off of IR, and I am playing him over Dallas Goedert this week, even though Kittle is going to be on a snap count. He needs one play. He is arguably the best or second best tight end in the league when you compare him to Kittle. Waller is also up there, but yeah, I'm just going to go with George Kittle over Goedert. I wouldn't blame you if you went the other way, just because of the guarantee. Because Goedert, he's seeing a lot of snaps. Like, he seems to have a good connection with Jalen Hurts, but I'm just going to go with George Kittle, right? And then for defense, I'm playing Chicago Bears against Jacksonville. I mean, hey, Jacksonville, they don't scare me at all. Robinson, their running back, he's banged up. I haven't heard lately. I don't know if he's playing or not, but either way, I like that matchup. And then, yeah, so I think that's all of our lineups are here. So in this league, we're competing for third, and then in the other two leagues I talked about, we're competing for a championship. So that's just kind of me going through my lineups this week. By the way, I don't know why my screen looks like this. Whoa, what is going on? You guys see this? It's like cutting off over here. That's weird. Anyways, yeah, so that's gonna do it for this video, guys. I hope this helped you set your lineups in week 16. I hope you guys are competing for a championship, and I wish you the best of luck. Remember, if you need a good luck charm, go and pick someone up off the waiver wire. Maybe like I don't know. I mean, Will Fuller's a good one. Maybe if you drafted Saquon Barkley and you ended up dropping him, add him to your bench again, because you got to the championship even though you lost him. And maybe that'll give you some good luck, right? Who knows? Just like a fun little thing to do. So yeah, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. Make sure to drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more fantasy football content. And good luck in week 16.